Thank you for tuning in to TAWF, the Accidental Wrestling Fan. I'm very excited to be having my good friend Tomas on the show, as well as Fro returning. We're going to talk about some Japanese wrestling, things like that. But before we get into that, there's something that's obviously going on this weekend by the time you listen to it is Juneteenth. Something that's near and dear to my heart, something that's very important to not only me as a man, but I feel like to other people in my family, other black people in this country. It's one of the most important days of the year. It's one of the most important days of all time for black people in the United States of America. And I will keep this brief before I get you into the wrestling. Juneteenth is really important. If you don't know about it, I feel like it's important for you as someone who lives in this country to do a little bit of research about it. June 19th marks Juneteenth, a holiday commemorating the end of slavery in the United States, 900 plus days after the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect. On this day in 1865, federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas to ensure all enslaved people were freed. Juneteenth celebrates African American freedom and emphasizes education and achievement. 47 states recognize this day as a significant milestone in U.S. history, as it is the oldest official holiday commemorating the end of a dark, horrific institution. Though significant progress has been made, there is still significant work to be done to eradicate systemic racism and discrimination. As we reflect and rejoice during this Juneteenth holiday, take advantage of the many educational and celebratory opportunities around, for us, the Metro Detroit area, or wherever you're listening to this at, and learn about Juneteenth, learn about all the ways that Juneteenth is so special to people in the African American community. Go to Juneteenth.com and read up on this important day. It's something that I feel like people should be more aware of in this country. I feel like it's something that we should already have had this as a national holiday. But in any regard, I just wanted to bring that to light that by the time you're listening to this, Juneteenth is happening or already happened. So I just want you to understand why this day is so important to me and so many others in this country. And I look forward to celebrating it, here on out on a more official basis. Not that it wasn't official to begin with, but, it is officially recognized as the holiday that it should be in this country. If you get a chance, go to Black Wrestling, their Instagram account. It's an account I follow. I'm a big fan of theirs. They're a wrestling podcast, a black wrestling podcast, if you already didn't know. And they are doing the Black Wrestling Podcast Top 50. So go to their Instagram account and check that out. They're doing it in celebration of Juneteenth this year. It's a great list, a lot of great talent on it, like MVP, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Ricky Starks. Go ahead and check it out. So again, that's at Black Wrestling, BLACKRASSLIN. Check it out. Thanks. What a mark. All right, y'all. Welcome to the Accidental Wrestling Fan. It's John. John's not on the show. Fuck me. That's one of those days, man. I've used to saying John. We've replaced John with another white guy that wears glasses. What's up, Fro?
What up?
Welcome back. We got Kaz as always. What's up, Kaz?
Going on?
Oh, same old shit, man. I'm part of the Four Eye Clan now. I got to wear glasses because I've just been rolling around blind for like the last 6 years, and I finally got my glasses last Monday, or this past Monday rather. So I'm happy to be able to see. Thank you. Yeah, this shit was $200 with the insurance. So if you're out there struggling with your insurance, like we were talking about before we started recording, man, shit is not a good time.
Thoughts and
prayers. To move to Canada. Thoughts and prayers. We got a special guest though, first time on the show, someone that Kaz has kind of been pushing to come on for a little while now. We got our good friend Tomas, the Japanese wrestling guru. What's going on, my man?
What's happening? Shout outs Kaz, shout outs John, even though you're not here. Shout outs Big Damon, saying nothing but respect. No shout outs to Fro though.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So last week, it probably would have been more appropriate to do this last week, but we ended up taking a break. Last week on June 9th was the anniversary of the match, as Fro called it in quotes, one of the greatest of all time. Got a case to be the best match of all time best tag team match I think possibly ever as well. The Holy Demon Army, Kawada Taue versus Kobashi Misawa, unbelievable match. Still holds up. It was 25 years now, 26 years, something like that.
I think it was 95. I do
Yeah,
believe, right?
Yep.
yeah, mid 90s, about a quarter of a century ago, man. It's crazy when you see some of those matches, especially with a lot of the 90s Japanese matches, All Japan, some of the New Japan stuff as well. Uh, Especially the four pillars, Misawa, Kobashi, all those guys. It still really holds up. Like it doesn't feel hokey. You're not like, damn, this match is kind of slow. Like it's not as good as I remember when I was younger. It is still good. It's still
It all makes sense. Like
It's a little different, but yeah.
It's like there's no wasted movements. Like it's really, the emphasis is really on like wrestling, not to be like that guy. but it's like it tells like a story.
Yeah, and each guy has kind of different personalities too, and you can see how their personalities all kind of clash or gel as far as the teammates go, because you got that animosity between Masawa and Kawada throughout the entire match. Kawada is always just trying to take Masawa out, kicking him off the apron, always trying to take little cheap shots at him, and did they have some real life animosity, or is that just kind of something that they would weave to make the matches they have?
I always heard that they never really liked each other. For like, it's always weird because you don't really hear like a lot of, I don't know, shoots or like whatever from over there. Like I think it's probably a cultural thing, like the whole respect and business. But that's what my homies told me, because I've talked to him. I was like, man, these guys, like, for like what, over a decade, like when they used to tag, when they started wrestling each other, I was like, it's just off the charts. And he was like, yeah, they never really like liked each other. And I think it kind of also, when Masawa split, Kawada wasn't like very happy about being loyal to All Japan and stuff like that. But it
Was
shows.
it Misawa, the one that first got the Gansu bomb?
Yeah, it was Kawada broke his arm, if I remember correctly, right? He was trying to give him the power bomb, and his arm was broken.
Yeah.
Was that
and
before this or after this though?
It would be after he broke his arm.
Yeah.
It was like the arm break match is like the last match I think like Baba saw before he like passed away.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like the first time that he beat Masawa. He like beat him in a singles match when he like breaks his arm on his head.
Yeah, man. You think those guys didn't like each other with the way that they were dropping each other on their heads and hitting each other in the face?
Just a little different back then, man.
It was a style.
It was the style of the time.
Yeah. Did Masawa break Kawada's orbital bone, or is it the other way around?
I know Jumbo broke Masawa's nose once, and then there was like a streak of like, I think it was like 93, 94, where he's got like a taped up nose, and they're just like working it. Like, just like he really breaks his nose, and they're just like pound. This shit is just brutal, man. The way they wrestled back then.
Yeah, it's different. Would you say that, you know, with like New Japan being so prevalent now, I know it would be kind of considered different styles from like New Japan versus especially 90s All Japan. Would you say that the guys in Japan have kind of loosened up a little bit? They don't work as stiff, or would you disagree with that?
I remember watching when I finally rewatched a match like last week for the first time in forever, and I thought like certain spots were like really snug, but like on a whole, I think you take more damage in like an average like main event New Japan match than you would like it any of those four guys in that match. I think I could be BSing. Maybe Kawada was really laying it in on those like those kicks, but I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tomas.
I was just gonna say, I feel like as a whole, it's just a little bit. I mean, because you can find some dudes like look up like Shuji Ishikawa, like stuff like that dude is like real deal splitting heads with like headbutts, and like a lot of those 0-1 guys like Sato, Masato Tanaka. I know everybody here knows that dude will still work, you know what I'm saying, snug with somebody. But it's kind of like almost like what Fro was saying, the matches then were paced like a little bit differently. Whereas I feel like now it's kind of like bigger, like to the end. And it's like, you watch those, like, I don't know, Kenny and Naito G1s. Like, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
maybe they're not, hard elbows, but man, that's a lot of people getting dropped on the head a lot. Whereas it's like All Japan was kind of like, you had like maybe some rough elbows or kicks, whatever, in the beginning, and then it led to maybe 2 or 3 to the final big drop. Whereas like big time New Japan stuff, they kind of just Ibushi, they kind of just spiking each other all the Will Ospreay's out with the broken neck. It's I didn't think about what Fro said till like he said it, but it's different, but maybe more dangerous. Honestly,
I think so. Just the pace and the amount of like damage you take. Like, I would rather get punched in the face twice in a match than taking full body like shake up trauma off like some weird drop on my neck bullshit. Yeah, 3-4 times in a match. Fuck that. Like,
yeah, those matches like Ibushi and Naito were having, just like they're trying to break one another's neck or something, just lawn darting each other into the turnbuckle at full force. Just goddamn. I don't know. I think the innovation is different nowadays as well.
Yeah, there's a
moveset wise,
for sure.
There's a spot that or a move, was it Naito, where he does it's like the tombstone, but he does the wheelbarrow and he just drops you on your head. It's like the wheelbarrow tombstone. I think Adam Page
it's
does
kind
it
of like
too.
Trent does like the dude buster where you scoop the arms under and just kind of sit down.
Yeah, like his is like a sunset flip driver, I think it's called. But this one, Ibushi and Naito love to do this to each other, especially on the fucking apron. And because I think the first person I ever saw do it was Santos Escobar or Phantasma. It's a very scary move if you don't take it like on your upper back neck area. Because I've seen people get dropped kind of vertically on it, but you see some of these moves, man. You're like, how is that not the finish? Why is that not your finisher? Like, how is that move more dangerous than your finisher? It's gotten to a point where I start to actually be more worried about the actual like real life person than the drama of the match with some of these crazy stunts that these guys have to do. Not to sound like a fucking grumpy old man, but some of the stuff these guys do, man, is really it's kind of scary sometimes.
Well, it's also scary to think in the sense that one of the guys that we're talking about in the match that we're talking about is dead because of pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not, it's obviously a very rare thing, but I mean, it seems like for a while, at least like in the Okada era, like say 2012, like, onward, you didn't really have that many people getting like injured. You know what I mean? Maybe like a shoulder, a knee, something like that. But it's like
hurt, but that's the same.
Yeah, you had like the Ibushi thing where he hurt his neck and he was having like the seizures. You had
Shibata.
Shibata. Yeah, there you go. I wasn't even thinking about that. Shibata, and then Hiromu, fractured neck. Whatever I don't know exactly what's wrong with Will, but they say it's a bad neck thing, and it's like this is like a very short period of time where this is happening, comparatively to before, where I don't remember anything like that happening for like a decent while. So it does get scary. Like, it's when you see those things, you're like, oh, like, is he okay? You know what I mean? Like, is he gonna finish the match? Like, it's really. But then you said it's not even a finish, so they keep going, and it's like
it's like a double-edged sword, because as a fan watching it as it's happening, it's like, oh fuck yeah. You want to see, like, when it's happening, it's just you're so into it. But at the end of the day, you see with Will Ospreay, I mean, who knows how bad that dude's hurt? And yeah, are they pushing the limits a little too far? Is something like what happened to Masawa, could that possibly happen again inside a ring or something?
I don't see why not.
Like, yeah, I mean,
but it's like what you guys said kind of is like my 2 points on it. Like, you have 2 options. You either sorry.
Sorry.
You either don't care about wrestlers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You either don't care about the wrestlers at all and just go, cool, I'm gonna watch these guys fucking die.
Oh
Or
yeah.
you get taken out of the drama entirely by worrying about the like well-being of these people constantly through a match. Like that's a thought that was in my head like through a lot of like Naito's like last year or so, is just everybody's always talking about how hurt he is, how hurt he is. Same thing with Ibushi. Like I know how beat up he is. And both those guys, I'm watching them over and over again and just thinking like, damn, they shouldn't be doing this. Damn, they shouldn't be doing this. You know what, guys, you really should stop doing this. Like, and like it's just a thing that seeps into the match.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a part of wrestling though, with like I don't know if anyone here watched the Dynamite Kid Dark Side of the Ring.
I did, yeah.
But it's like it seems almost like it's bad to say, and maybe it's kind of like an unspoken thing, but it seems like wrestling in a way is like you're almost meant to die on your sword. Like you're supposed to, like, you know what I mean? Because that's like how everyone looks at like a lot of these guys. It's like, okay, like they did this, that, and the other, but look at the craft, look at the product that they left behind us, look what they gave us. And it's like you kind of don't, you know, and you almost kind of like look at people like Austin or like Punk that walk away from it, like, oh, come back, you know what I mean? Because that's the fan in you, right? Like you want to just see your, you know,
to it,
the Hogans, their Flairs, these people that are just literally like, you know, you could see, was it the Rock and Roll Express still doing Canadian destroyers at this, they don't need to be doing that, you know what I mean? Like they're fine, the legacy is secured, but it's like that's wrestling, it's dying on this hill for the craft, for better or for worse. Like with the Naito stuff, is he really hurt, is he not, is it a work, whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, you're going to look back on it and say, look at this, like organically, you know, over guy that changed whatever, but at what cost? It's like always it's always like the bottom line, I guess. Like,
and back on the topic of the match, you have to really respect like Kobashi and Kawada for staying out of the ring. Taue retired a little bit before them, right?
yeah, he retired before him.
Yeah.
No, he
but, like,
retired. He would have retired after Kobashi would have.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, 'cause
Kawada probably first, I think, then Kobashi, then Taue. But Taue was like old man status, like not really.
He was
much.
just but he was a monster the whole time, so you didn't have to do crazy stuff. But yeah, no, like I have to commend all those guys for like just hanging it up, and a big part of that was, of course, Misawa, you know, dying in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. In some ways, like Tomas said, you know, it's all about the craft. It's all about that art that they create in the ring. And I feel like in some ways that Misawa dying in the ring is kind of poetic for just the way that he wrestled, how much he put into wrestling, which is crazy that, you know, Misawa was like not a body guy. From what I understand, he like smoked and drank to play video games.
Big time.
But when it came go time to wrestling, you know, you could definitely make a case that he might have been the best of the four. You could make a case for him. I don't know if everyone here agrees with that necessarily, but you know, Masao is one of the best to ever do it, bar none, in any promotion in the world. And so, in some ways, yeah, it was kind of poetic, and also to die by taking a move that in kind of kayfabe and storyline was a move that was kind of his Achilles heel, like a backdrop suplex, like a big time drop on his neck. And, you know, in some ways, like I said, it was kind of uh, life imitating art. And, you know, it's sad that he died, you know, in his 40s, you know, just in his wrestling tights in the middle of the ring. But in some ways, it's kind of fitting. So I don't know. I guess that's just my thought on it. I've been thinking about that a little bit lately. I was having a conversation with my friend Phil, and we said it was like, you know, the Vikings, they have to die in combat to be able to go to heaven. It was kind of like that. It was almost like the real life version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, shout outs, Fro's boy Bobby Fish was in the ring when Misawa died. Little fun fact for you.
Yeah, he was also at the Capitol on January 6th, wasn't he?
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Drake might have been, though.
Yeah, Drake was for sure there.
Did y'all see that shit with the quick aside? And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about this fucking guy on the show anymore, but did y'all see the shit with IWA Mid-South? I think it was Ian Rotten was basically like, listen.
He was burying somebody, right? I saw something about it. Like, wasn't he making fun of somebody? Was it Drake?
Yeah, Drake was saying that he was trying to come back to IWA, excuse me, Mid-South, and he was like, I don't fit in with this snowflake locker room. Back in my day, guys like J.C. Bailey, Eddie Kingston, Tank, all these guys would stretch you and beat the crap out of you, blah, blah, blah. And then Ian Rotten was like, bro, I don't tolerate that shit here. Like, we're not going to have some crazy, like, QAnon guy running around. This is IWA Mid-South, by the way,
Yeah,
bro.
Ian Rotten is sick of your shit. That's like you're way over it.
Yeah,
Like
really.
you're not like on some other shit. You're on like some super other, like way different Humperdinck. That's crazy.
Yeah, man, what a crazy fall from grace. Like,
Oh, dude.
Everybody loved him.
It hurt me so bad. I was so like from going as PWG run to getting signed to seeing him like ref those like big matches. I was like, that's my man Drake. That's what I'm talking about, baby. And it's just like it's just so bad, dude.
It stinks.
It hurt.
yeah, it's a shame, but no one gives a fuck about Drake Younger anymore. Let's just move on to other things. Let's talk about
Drake Younger.
As a
Fuck Drake
referee,
Older, too.
as
all of it, top to bottom.
Anyway, man, just back to the four pillars here: the Kobashi, Misawa, all those guys. Who would you say, Tomas, is the best one? Like, who's your favorite guy?
Personally, my favorite would have to be Tao, and that's just simply based off of, and me and my friend Kevin, shout outs Kevin here. I don't know if he'll ever see this, but he got me into Puro, all that 2010. So I've always talked to him specifically about this match, that obviously you have Kobashi Misawa, you have Kawada Misawa, you have all these babyface, the ace, the bad guy or whatever. You have all the chemistry there. But to me, what really sets the match up to be as great as it is the fact that, like you were saying, Kawada's like kicking Misawa in the face. He's being a little shit. But when they get in the ring, Big Tao comes out and he's the enforcer. You know what I mean? Like, because he comes from that giant Baba tree of like, the big, strong, giant kind of looking guy. And I've always hated when people are like, oh, he's the worst, because he's not in like the Hall of Fame and all these things. And it's like, not to get full blown that guy, but it's like, you just don't get it. You don't get what he's like presenting to the match. You don't understand that like the choke slam on the thigh is all-time spot. Like it's one of the greatest. Like everyone's getting beat up, Kobashi and Tao's the first guy to hit the thigh too. So it's like that again is just setting the whole tone of the match. It's the point of the match is this guy is hurt and he can't wrestle, and Tao sets it up. And he doesn't mind doing the dirty work. He was always the guy that did, the toss onto the turnbuckle, where they toss him in face first. Like, he didn't mind being the guy that was doing the dirty work. You know what I mean? Like, Kawada was always, the big guy that got the finish or the power bomb and stuff like that. But, it's like I told you, you can't have a house without a basement. It's got to have a foundation somewhere. And to me, that's Tao. Like, bar none, set the tone. His spots are crazy. Dog, the choke slam off the side of the apron. Like, bro, he's a dirt dog, man. Like, I don't understand how people can watch those matches and dislike it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I always feel like I hear people say. They talk about the pillars. It's like, there's four of them. It's not three pillars in Tao. You know what I mean? He's the fourth pillar. Like, he's there. But people are always like, oh, Misawa, Kobashi. Like, yeah, they're great. We get it. But there's a 6 Man of the Year award for a reason. And
I think a lot of the reason you see him outshined is like you see so much stuff in modern wrestling taken from the other three. And I remember, like, when I was watching the match again, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't see anybody do any of his spots like at all. And like I realized like because some of them look strange to me, and I realize it's just because they're not adapted into modern wrestling really, because like it's that like late 80s early 90s style big like just like giant wrestling, and like there's a style to that. And I think maybe we're just so used to seeing like super giants who literally can't work at all, and like them being like the super big guys, that when a guy a little bit smaller comes out doing the same thing, like he's like Kevin Nash with better moves. That's really what it boils down to.
Shout out to Downriver.
Shout out.
Legend.
Shout out to the other mayor of Downriver, Kevin Nash. I was gonna say a Holy Demon Army is like the Bad Boys Pistons of like all
For
Japan.
sure.
Like they just did a lot of dirty work, but they were really fucking good, and you couldn't help but watch them. And I guess who you call Masawa and Kobashi. What was that group called? Like the Super Generation Army or something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. They they always have some crazy ass names
The
for some of
wild
the tag team.
names.
Yeah, but they are like the like Showtime Lakers or something, man. It's like
Yeah.
everyone loved them. They had, they were real popular, but Bad Boys Pistons came through and they beat their ass. And I think that's kind of a similar analogy, I guess you could make for this matchup and their whole persona.
I was reading up on the four guys earlier, and they have the most 5-star rated matches among them, correct?
Yeah, probably. I would assume Meltzer. People think Meltzer is tripping on wrestling like now with like the 6 stars. Like back then, he was like he loved like so much of that like era of wrestling. Like, he was going crazy with it.
Masawa got multiple 5-star matches in like a short, like a couple day period, didn't he? Like during a tournament? Was it during a champion carnival?
So I mean, I would assume so. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but
Yeah, just to talk about how much Meltzer really, rated those matches really highly. He really loved him some '90s All Japan. I know one of his favorite matches is Kobashi, and I forget the other guy's name. Starts with a K. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's him against Crawford and LaFon,
oh,
1990
is it is
91.
it is it Kobashi and Kikuchi,
Yes,
the
yeah.
shorter guy? Yeah,
Yeah, that match is fucking bananas, man. Crawford and LaFon, a tag team that or Crawford and Furnace. I'm sorry, I
shout outs Doug
ca-
Furnace,
Doug Furnace, rest in peace. Uh,
R.I.P.
that dude was a fucking freak, man. If you've never seen that guy wrestle, go look at old Doug Furnace clips, man. That dude was super strong, could jump out the gym. I, it's a shame that he didn't end up becoming a bigger star in that time period because he was like the from a mold of like a Scott Steiner. Just a guy who could suplex you, clothesline you. He, like I said, he could do all the high flying stuff. There's some guys like that, man. They're a different breed.
It's also just like a generational wrestling thing where there's just a lot of gems in that specific time period. Like I grew up like just like everybody else, like we remember the Big Boss Man. You know, he was never really, you wouldn't call Big Boss Man like good. You know, you might remember him, you know, Big Boss Man, your mom, you know, like the dragon motherfucking Big Show
You're a big
on the
nasty
cat.
bastard.
Yeah,
Your
big
mama
nasty
even
bastard.
said so.
Yeah, that shit. But like you, and if you would tell somebody that like only knew that, like you'd be like, listen, I'm gonna tell you like this. You watch Big Boss Man in Japan, he's getting busy. They'd be like, what are you talking about, man? But it's like those guys, they go over there and it's like
Wasn't he wearing the Big Boss Man gimmick too? That's fucking
110%.
amazing.
Still same fit, though, with the
Hell yeah.
like the cross joint.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of those guys just went over there and got busy. I don't know if it was a cultural thing, a money thing, or if they just
Hogan.
wanted to. Yeah, Hogan's another one, but like all those guys, like the Dr. Death, the Dan Spivies, like the Furnaces, like they go over there and it's just like, it's just different. I don't know. It's just hands down to me that like late 80s to 90s to me, it's just it can't be beat. It's just like I love wrestling nowadays. I'm not going to be one of them people that are like, oh, the flippy dogs and this, that, the other. Like I love what I see now. I enjoy it, but it's just I don't know. There's just something about it. The atmosphere, the commentary, Wada Kyohei, the greatest referee of all time. Like it's just all everything. Literally, like the junior wrestling was good. Like you can see crazy old Rob Van Dam with the bare feet wrestling over there. Like 90s All Japan is crazy. It's just different. I don't know.
Watch some Robbie V get the shit beat out of him by Kawada, man. Kawada was laying that shit in on him, man. Fucking the little American pretty boy's gonna come over here. Just take these clotheslines, young man. He was beating the shit out of him. If you can find that, go ahead and seek those matches out. That's one of my favorite tropes too in '90s Japanese wrestling is when like a bigger guy teams up with like a junior. You know that junior is about to get the
Oh,
shit
yeah.
beat out of him in that tag match. Like if Benoit was teaming up with someone against the Steiners, oh Scott Steiner was dropping Benoit on his fucking head, man. That shit was getting out of control. But it was a lot of fun to watch, though. Like those tag team matches, man. Tag team matches, I'm a big fan of. So
Same.
you can go back and find a lot of them, and you can tell a lot of different stories with the tag match. I mean, I feel like most of the people that listen to this show and watch maybe primarily wrestling here in the States, that kind of style, they probably grew up on a lot of the southern type brawls, like Midnight's, Rock and Roll Express, Hearts and Demolition, the British Bulldogs, that type of thing. But in Japan, you got a little bit of that. You got a little bit of like some technical wizardry, like some British Bulldogs and Malenkos type matches. I feel like there's a little bit more variety as far as the styles go with tag team matches in that era in Japan.
Yeah, it felt like Baba just knew exactly what he like wanted out of like everything. Cause I remember I downloaded like a whole TV pack from like 1994. So it was like, the whole year. And I was like, I watched it all. And it was just like, sometimes it was too, as because Kaz, he always talking about the multi-man tags being whack, but it's like over there
nowadays.
Yeah, no, I get you. But like those matches back then when you'd have like Kobashi, Kikuchi, Misawa versus like Jumbo, Fuchi, and like TAWF. It's just like young guys, old grumpy guys, and it's just like every single time it happens, it's just great. I don't know. It's just something about it. Like it's just everything that happened, just I don't know, happened for a reason. It's really like cheesy and like lame to say, but it's like I can watch that style. I can go back and watch those matches all the time. But like Kaz is saying, I ain't watching no New Japan multi-man. I ain't got no time for it, bro. Let me get to the middle part of the show. That's when I know it's about to start cooking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't got to watch this. It's like you see who's wrestling each other, and you're just like, okay, that's like, the storyline, and I don't need to see it. But like a lot of those 6-man tags, like, you need to see them. Like it's just good wrestling. Like you're saying, like the smaller guys are gonna get whooped on, the older guys are gonna be grumpy, the younger baby faces are gonna try to get their shot. You know what I mean? Like it's just those super simple, like almost bare bones wrestling, like I don't know, tropes or like essentials. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, and they just do all those like super simple things like perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Like so, it's like you don't need to overdress it. It doesn't need to be like a big crazy thing. It's just like these 6 guys are going to wrestle, these 4 guys are going to wrestle, these 2 guys are going to wrestle, and they're going to hit all of those things perfectly, and you're going to be captivated, enthralled, swept
you're gonna be
up.
sold on any of that stuff happening in a single capacity or just another tag later. Like it's just gonna build history and not like, oh, this guy interfered with me here. It's like, no, we wrestled before and I hate that guy and we're going to wrestle now.
Would you say All Japan was way more over back then than New Japan? As far as
crowds.
quality, what was going on in New Japan during this
in
time
New Japan
period?
you had Muda and all them. You had the 3 Musketeers. You had Muda,
that's right,
Hashimoto, and Chono. And I've gone back. Okay, so not to get too far off, but I got into Japanese wrestling in 2010. Like I grew up with like FMW DVDs. Like
that was another question I wanted to ask. Yeah.
Stranglemania DVDs, like weird shit like that.
Yeah, that's the one I got. That's the one.
Yeah, Stranglemania. My older brother came over because we grew up liking wrestling our whole lives. Like
fat fuck barrel boys.
It's like my mom had to lie to me to say that Macho Man wanted my pacifier when I was a baby, so I'd like give it up. So it's like I've been with it my whole life. And my older brother, not my brother Jose, one above him, came over one day and is like, hey, I got this DVD. You got to see this crazy shit. And it was like FMW. And we were like Mr. Pogo, like the icicle, and we're just like, what is going on? But it wasn't until like 2010 where I kind of fell out of like American stuff. Like I hadn't ever watched ROH. It was just like the WWE stuff. And my boy, I don't know if anyone here has ever downloaded something off the ditch. It's like an archive of New Japan, All Japan, like dating all the way back to the 70s. It's just like all a bunch of hyperlinks that's like mildly descriptive of the match. And he was just like, check this out. He showed me Kenta and Go Shiozaki versus Kensuke and Nakajima. 2009, it was the memorial show for Masao when he passed away. And it blew my mind. Like, it was like, this is physical. I don't know who any of these guys are. This Kenta guy is trying to kill this other dude. Kensuke is like lobbing, like I didn't know what any of it was. So afterwards, I just like names and I just like I traced the cord backwards, like through Noah into All Japan from like the 90s to the 80s to the 70s. And like when I got into all of it, it was just like All Japan right away clicked for me way more than New Japan. Like New Japan, and I think it probably comes from Inoki. I hope no Inoki fans are gonna watch it. So this fucking guy doesn't know. But it's like Inoki is very slow. That works up to a single big spot. That's like a standard New Japan match. It's like a chess game. You get the one big backdrop. It's fine. I like it. No disrespects to Muto, any of those guys. Minus Hashimoto was dropping everybody on their heads and kicking them really hard. But just All Japan had more action for mine. You know, like I said, I've watched a good bit of it. I got nothing bad to say, but All Japan was just the crowds. Like I said, everything just made more sense to me. Like I like Muto, like Chono, like Hashimoto, but you know, to me, you can't Kobashi, Akiyama when he started coming in, Stan Henson when he was barreling over them, and who else? Dr. Death, Bam Bam Gordy. Like it's just hard for me to even watch the other stuff because it's like this other stuff is so much better and it has everything I need like over here. But I mean, I think New Japan was still doing like the big dome shows. I know the G1 Climax that's had to have been going on since the 90s, right? Like mid 90s, I would assume.
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time.
But it just felt like for me, if you were to line up the best of the best, the crowd's hotter, it's crazier over here in All Japan, and I just always enjoyed it more. It's just so much better. I'll watch All Japan now a little bit, but no disrespects, Inoki and whatever, but it wasn't holding a candle. Like it's Team Bob. You know what? I'll say it right now. It's Team Baba. We're about that. You know what I'm saying? Pretty boy Inoki with the big chin. I'm taking a big giant picture. You know what I'm saying? That's my man.
Respect that. I respect someone that backs his team. So, I guess another question I'll ask you is, what makes the guys in the four pillars so special? I mean, I know you kind of talked about Tao. I've been saying his name wrong for 30 years, but what is it about each of the guys in the pillars that makes them so special? Like, if you could kind of briefly describe each guy, because I know for me, my favorite guy is Kobashi. I like his style the best. Still
It's
love
because you're
all
a
the
pretty
other
baby
guys.
face. I can tell. You're too pretty. That's why. You like the pretty baby face of the podcast. That's why. So I see the connection there.
I like clotheslining the fuck out of people too.
Oh yeah, that short arm, that short one is mean. I mean, it just kind of goes back to what Fro was saying and what I was saying, where it's like, to me, they all are exceptional at the role that they're put in. You know what I mean? Like you could show anybody that understands like a basic wrestling babyface heel, and you show them the 6ix9ine match, right? And you could show them that, and they would say, this guy who I don't know, who's crawling around on the floor, who's fighting through the thigh, that's a baby face. That is one of the best baby faces, in my opinion, ever, not just in the match, but like that's just what he does. He does that. And I don't know if y'all remember, he had that bouffant like poof, you know what I'm saying? So he knew what he was doing. He was like, I'm the handsome baby face. But then you have Misawa, who is the ace. He's clearly, the all the triple crowns and all that. But he's just quiet, stoic, almost like
try hard.
Yeah, like almost like the sweaty nerd, if you want to, call him that. And it's like he has that place in the dynamic. And then there's Kawada, the guy who, the big thing about the 6ix9ine matches, that's the first time he ever pins Misawa. So he didn't get it in a single, and he says something about it like in the post match that it's like, it wasn't a singles match, but this is still the happiest moment of my career. And then fast forward to the broken arm match, is the first time he ever beats him in a singles match. So it's like Kawada has, and because they tag earlier, like they together, Misawa and Kawada tag earlier on, but you can kind of tell even then they're working together, but Misawa is still the head, the head of the snake. And so Kawada was that guy that was always chasing it. And he was the perfect guy to do so, because he wasn't like a Kobashi who was like, oh, I'm handsome, I'm pretty, I'm this. But no, he was like, I'm a dirt dog. I'm doing this grime. I'm about this. You know what I mean? Like the teeth. You know what I mean? Like there's so many iconic, when he's giving somebody the stretch plum and you see them like them teeth missing and it's just got a face. It's like he was just meant, Stan Henson was supposed to knock those teeth out. It's just like he was meant to be the toothless villain almost, because that was, again, the dynamic. You know what I mean? Like you had the two baby face, the two sides of good and the two sides of bad. And then, I don't need to say much more about Tao. You already know that's the dude. Dynamic T. That's my guy.
Yeah, man. All those guys, that's what made them so special, is because they were all so different and they complemented each other in so many different ways, whether as teammates or opponents. It's kind of crazy to have a group of guys like that can just work so well together in almost any capacity. I was gonna ask. It's probably an obvious question, and Fro and Kaz, you guys can jump in too. Of the singles matches, which of the four pillars has the best chemistry?
Like together.
Yeah, against each other. So I everyone loves Masawa Kawada. Those are amazing.
That's the
I
easy
love
answer. Like,
Right,
yeah.
but I personally love Kobashi and Masawa, of course. But
Mhm.
uh, there's some Tao matches with some of those guys that are really good.
When he wins the Triple Crown in '96, and he earned the Champions Carnival in '96, where he beats Masawa. That's a good ass Tao match. Catches him with a choke slam off the top.
Yeah, those guys just all had crazy chemistry with each other. But I guess like if each of you could pick like your favorite, not necessarily a specific date, but just the best
Internal
pairing.
rivalry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Mr. Fro. I already have my answer.
I think I'm just the basic one of just like I like Kobashi and Masawa together. Like it's great. Like, but I think I have to say Kawada and Masawa. It's like I think part of that's just like I've not gone too deep into it. So like that's the most fleshed out rivalry of like all of them that's easily accessible from the outside. So it's just the one I'm most familiar with. So, and not to mention it's like you're playing a fighting game, right? And you have all these endings, right? And then there's the canon ending. There's a canon final boss fight, and it's Kawada and Misawa. Like that's the end. Like, and that's kind of the way I view it. So yeah.
Sub-Zero and Scorpion, if you're a Mortal Kombat nerd. Um, so I already said mine. Kaz, what about you?
Probably what Fro said. The most familiar one with me is Kawada and Masawa.
Okay. Yeah, so that seems to be obviously the most popular one, but I mean, for good reason, right? Those matches are fucking amazing. Like
There's a reason why we know about him. Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, man, it's just the chemistry, the dynamic, and I think what always makes matches so much better is if there's like a little bit of animosity between the guys in real life. Sometimes that kind of carries through into the matches, and that makes it more fun. And this is something that I've said. I think I've said it on the pod before, but I know I've said it on like my social media. I feel like something that's missing in wrestling now is like that animosity with wrestlers. I feel like there's so much like in indie wrestling, everyone's like putting each other over on Twitter and always like, oh, this guy's
For
so
sure.
amazing. You need to book this guy. Like I kind of miss when people are just like, I don't fucking like that guy. I'm gonna kick his ass. Like I kind of miss sometimes when guys would both be heels or both be baby faces and just don't like each other because they just
Yeah.
don't fuck with each other. And
it's kind of a thing in sports in general nowadays, though, too. Like, I know one of Tomas's favorites, Russ Westbrook. Like, he's one of those few guys who will put the beef out there to like make you feel the real competitive spirit of the sport. Like, and it's the same thing with wrestling. Like, it matters, even if it's kayfabe. And kayfabe's your damn job, so do your damn job. Like, come on.
That's why I think this Nick Gage, Zack Ryder shit rules. I don't know if it'll ever even come to a head and be a good wrestling match, but they seem like they don't like each other, and that's cool. Like I literally posted like a on a message board with like I don't know if you guys saw it, but like Nick Gage like went to some, I don't know if it was like a comic convention or like a toy convention, but he's like pushing through the crowd. He's like,
Yeah.
fuck, he's like, fuck this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if they really don't like each other or whatever, but like Fro said, that's the point, right? Like it's, we're all, because I feel like we've all kind of gotten a little too close to wrestling and understanding it a little too much. So now it's just like when you see your favorite guy on Twitter, and I've said before, no wrestlers should have Twitter. They're all terrible. Like I'll say this right now on the pod for the millions at home watching, wrestling Twitter is whack. Motherfuckers on there that are like tweeting like, "Oh, I'm gonna be here," or like, you know, when a wrestler tweets like heart eye emojis at a GIF or retweet a GIF of themselves, that's whack. That's ridiculous.
Like the Will
bro.
Ospreay
like,
tweet you showed earlier, like
awful,
it's
bro.
it's frowny
like,
face.
Dude,
like,
yeah, dude, like I get it. Your neck hurts. It sucks, dude. Just vanish. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just awful. But like you're saying, it is something that's completely missing, and it's like that's why I kind of liked like Kenny and Naito, or even like Kenny and them having like, even though I just shit on wrestling Twitter, hold on, that they just like Kenny had like a spat at Naito, like I got to come back because Naito robbed me of like the, what do you say, like the two biggest moments, or the chance to go back to back, I think is like it was his tweet, something like that, and it's just like, oh, like yeah, that like that, I like that, you know what I mean? Like I don't just want to see guy versus dude, you know what I mean? Like, or friend versus friend, like we're all working together and making money. Like, dude, do that over there. Like, don't let me see that you're happy. Oh, I get to wrestle my friend. That's what I'm talking about. Like, no, dude. Like, it's still supposed to be
a competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
But
I was gonna make a real quick point because it's really prevalent too in like friend versus friend matches or partner versus partner matches. They're all like, oh god, they're like hemming and hawing about fighting each other. It's just like I just want someone's personality. It's just like, if you step in the ring with me, I'm gonna fuck you up. Anybody can get it. I don't care if you're my friend. I don't care if you're my fucking brother or mom. Like, if you sign on a contract with me, I'm gonna whip that ass. And I feel like that's really missing from wrestling. Like,
who
everyone's
was the
just like,
pairing you said? You said Misawa and Kobashi, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly that. Like, they like are both baby faces, are both aligned on the same side. They killed each other. Like, there's no like, oh yeah, oh, I don't want to beat him up. It's like, no, like Misawa's a dickhead, like when he needs to be, and that's part of what makes him cool. Like,
Yeah. He will elbow you in the back of the head. He doesn't care if you're a partner. Like, if you're his opponent, like, you're gonna get it. It's that simple. And y'all can shake hands afterwards and hug afterwards, but like, leading up to it, man, I just like that, just a little bit of animosity. Like, make me feel like y'all really want to beat the shit out of each other.
do you think that's missing from, wrestling, like Tomas said, because us as fans have become too smart to it?
No, I don't think it's because we're too smart to it. I think it's because the industry has kind of changed as a whole. Like, I feel like there's a lot of, like Zack Ryder. He had this whole thing in WWE. It was like, it's the gratitude era. We're happy to be here. Blah blah blah. Like, you get a lot of people that are just like happy to be there. Like, I grew up watching wrestling my whole life. Like, I'm happy to be on WWE. Like, I'm happy to be, just chilling and catering, because as long as I get to show up in the Royal Rumble and get a pop and get a moment. Everything's
Yeah.
about like
what a
moments and
dream.
shit. Yeah, people aren't like, I want to be in a fucking tag team for like 3 years in the trenches and cracking people's skulls and having some tag title runs and tearing it up in the mid card.
Oh,
Like,
you want to be the Ascension. you want to be Gallows and Anderson, like chilling, making bank, just doing nothing. Get that.
yeah, man. I feel like it's a lot of the culture of wrestling has changed in a lot of ways for the better, but in some ways it's changed. Is changed in some bad ways. I think social media is a big problem with that. I think social media is a big problem, despite the fact that I do social media as my fucking job. But it's it's something that is kind of
Slowly
problematic.
killing the business.
I think it's kind of slowly killing society, but
Oh, of course.
that's a different podcast for a different time. Hey everyone, thank you for enjoying this latest episode of The Accidental Wrestling Fan. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes. If you're watching this on the YouTube, there's probably some links or things that you can click on your screen. So make sure you do that. Make sure you head to our TeePublic store, tee.pub/lic/DDT shirts. Check it out. Thanks. And remember to tuck your chin.